My problem is that I have too many thoughts and opinions to compile into a 60-second TikTok, even at the pace that I've taught myself to speak at. So this is the result, my Booktube channel, where I'll be sharing longer form, all my bookish thoughts and opinions, my reviews, my reading wrap-ups, what new releases are coming out, some reading vlogs, some book shopping vlogs, anything you want really, everything bookish. And today we're going to be starting off strong with my July reading wrap, which I thought would be fun because I've had some highs and I've had some lows. This was a very conflicting month of my ratings, so we're going to go ahead and get started on that. Now, to go over my Fable reading stats, I read 5 books, give or take, this month, because some of them I started in June and some of them I finished like in the second day of August, so I'm just going to count them anyway. My average rating at the moment is 4.2 stars. I read 5 books, 3 romance, 1 literary fiction / classic, and 1 fantasy. And my top authors for the year so far are Laurie Gilmore and Elsie Silver. And a humbling update, I am still incredibly behind on my reading goal, so we need to work on that. Now, the first book I finished this month was a 5-star and my first dip into this genre. It was Diary Bound by Sable Sorensen. I was never sure I would like fantasy. I always thought they're so big, they're so dense. I felt like I was gonna have to take notes to understand like the political systems and the world building. Like I just thought it would be too much for me. I actually got this book gifted to me by Mary Reads over on TikTok. I'll pop her username here. She is your go-to girl for fantasy recs. She is so good. I was trying to get into the romance genre and I recommended her Summer in the City by Alex Astor, and she recommended me Diary Bound, and I'm so glad she did. I love this. Also, what's crazy is that Sable Sorensen is a duo author and it's independently published, but 2 days after getting this, it got announced that this is getting traditionally published, which is insane, and the traditionally published copy is meant to come out in August. But while I'm so happy to see independently published authors get traditionally published, that's incredible, the second book isn't coming out until May next year. That was my only qualm. I'm so annoyed about that. I know there's so many like loops and bounds to go through with traditional publishing, but May next year? I am so bad at summarizing books, so I'm gonna give this a go because I feel like fantasy is even harder to summarize. Right, so this is very much Hunger Games meets Fourth Wing. Instead of dragons, there's direwolves, and it has like the very deadly trials of Hunger Games. So it's like a match of the two. Now, Meryn Cooper's sister gets kidnapped by the enemy, and in order to get her sister back, she needs to go to the front lines. So she enlists to be a soldier. Meryn is from the very lower class, like slums of the society, and she goes and enlists to be a soldier, but that enlisting is the announcement of the trials to become bonded. Now the bonded are like the elite soldiers and they're part of the upper class. They are bonded to the direwolves, but the direwolves are these like ancient sentient creatures and they ultimately choose who they decide to bond with. So Meryn is forced into the trial to become bonded. Although she doesn't want to become bonded, her only goal is to go out and find her sister. Reluctantly, she ends up getting bonded and she is forced into 4 months of training at the castle till she finishes her training, becomes bonded, and then can go to the front lines. The training is deadly, it's dangerous. It's not only the trials that are dangerous, but it's all the people around her, the other bonded trainees that are dangerous. She is very much the odd one out because she is the only commoner. All the rest of them are elites that have been training this for their whole life. This is a romantasy, so there is a love interest. Well, there's technically 2, but I don't want to spoil anything too much on that because, oh, that is it's so good. Stark and Prince Killian, it's really good. I hope I explained that well, but this book there's no wonder this got picked up by publishers so fast. It is so good. The plotting is incredible. There's so many twists and turns. There's so many layers to the plot. This setting is incredible. It's just, you can picture it so vividly in your mind. It's so magical. The characters are so well developed and distinct and different, and the love interests are absolutely addicting. Up until this book, I would have been like, of course reading is a relaxing activity. What do you mean? Wait till you get to the last 20% of this. Oh my gosh, I had whiplash. The plot was plotting and the turns were turning, the twists were twisting. It was incredible. I was honestly like, I never really thought I would be like that on the edge of my seat reading a book, but I literally was. Not to mention the playlist is so good to listen to this. That really just adds to like the immersiveness of the setting and the story. And the thing is, because I've got the indie copy, it gives you hope, and it says pre-order book 2 Fury Bound is coming later in 2025. Lies.
We were going to Disneyland! Oh my god!
No, because everything moves so slowly in traditional publishing, which is so frustrating, but it will be so worth the wait. I cannot wait until Fury Bound comes out. I'm so buzzed for that. But anyway, this took me so long to read, but it was an easy 5 stars, and I'm so glad this was my first fantasy. So I need to find other fantasy books that are similar to this. I might read Fourth Bound. Huh? Fourth Wing. Because that's supposed to be similar to this. And I did love The Hunger Games. I never read it, but I watched it and I did love it. So I feel like that might be my next dip into the fantasy genre. My next read is a romance I have been wanting to pick up for ages, this author. I was so excited to read this, and it was an easy 5 stars. Once again, Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. Grief, self-discovery, and finding love in the messiness of all of that. Now, Lenny has lost her best friend to cancer, and her life is completely falling apart. And Miles is the uncle of the little girl that she is nannying. And Miles offers to help her through her list. This is like a list to live again. It's like a bucket list to remind her how to live without her best friend in her life. Now, Cara Bastone is primarily a women's fiction author, and the romance in her books tends to be like a side plot. Like, it's a very slow burn, which I love a slow burn, but I think if you told me at the start, like, oh, the romance is a subplot, I would have been like, like, that's not really my thing. I love romance, like, that's my favorite, but oh, I'm so glad I read this. I think because it's so slow burn and it is very much focused on Lenny's self-discovery and her journey through grief, it makes you love the characters so much more. It makes you really connect to them and relate to them, and you are just rooting for them to get together by the end of it. And Cara Bastone just has such a way with dealing with the everyday struggles that women go through in such a beautiful way. She just demonstrated grief in such a raw and vulnerable way. And there were so many little pockets of wisdom and compassion and just, oh, that just quotes that just melted my heart. I've actually got here my favorite quote. She's telling her mum about Miles, and her mum's basically saying, like, is he a good one? And she says, Mum, he walked into hell and dragged me back out. And on the topic of Miles Honey, oh my gosh, this man is the exact description of what it is really like to be there for someone going through a rough time. Oh my gosh, he is 110% always there for Lenny. He's compassionate, he's emotional, he's consistent. He's so consistent and always has her best interests at heart, and is just such a well-developed character. This is not a tearjerker, this is a tear hurler. Like, I'm not joking when I was reading this and I would just be like, reading, like, you could be totally fine, and then there's just one quote that just hits you. This book is just like healing. It is raw, it's vulnerable, and it just takes that little bandage piece of your heart, rips off the band-aid, mends it back together. It's just so beautifully written, and this was an easy 5-star for me, and I'm so excited to read more of Cara Bastone's books and more women's fiction, actually. This is where things unfortunately take a downwards turn. I tried to get into classics. I tried to get into literary fiction and failed.
You guys, I'm like really smart now. You don't even know. You could ask me, Kelly, what's the biggest company in the world? And I'd be like, blah, 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 giving you the exact right answer.
It's just not for me, and I started off with what I thought would be a good read for me, The Bell Jar, Sylvia Plath.
Well. Next question. See ya.
I don't want to rate this too low just by on the fact that it's only really because it's just not for me. It's just not my kind of book. I'm not saying like it's a badly written book or like it's low quality. I can completely understand how ahead of its time this book was, how it really depicted well a woman's place in society in like 1950s, 1960s. It was very forward in talking about mental health awareness, and the fig tree analogy was just beautiful and timeless, and that will never date. It's also quite harrowing to connect the dots between Esther, the main character, and Sylvia, and to wonder how much of this is actually autobiographical, knowing Sylvia Plath's struggles with mental health. Esther at one point actually decides that she wants to write a novel about a girl called Elaine, and I've written down this quote so I remembered. "My heroine would be myself, only in disguise. She would be called Elaine. Elaine. I counted the letters on my fingers. There were 6 letters in Esther too. It seemed like a lucky thing." And I think it just caused you to wonder, like, did this actually happen to Sylvia? Like, is she talking about a real thing that happened when she decided to write The Bell Jar? I have to say, I really should have looked into this book a little bit more. I read the blurb and I thought, oh wow, this is going to be very, like, feminist. It's going to be about a woman finding her place in society, in 1950s society in New York, and all the glitz and glam with that, probably showing a bit of the dark underbelly of New York at that time. But no, when I expected, like, fashion intern life in New York and the high life, I got depression and asylums and very, very triggering words and very triggering themes. I think I don't so much as have a problem with the book, I have a problem with the blurb because it's misleading. The blurb just talks about New York, but New York is really only in like 20% of the book, if that, maybe 30%. To summarize it, Esther is a fashion intern. She's a writer at a New York magazine, and she's staying with a bunch of girls there, and she's kind of navigating life with men and not wanting to be married and wanting to be a writer. She goes home and finds out that she didn't get onto the writing scholarship program that she wanted to go on, and then what follows is just a really deep, dark depression. I really don't think I'm describing this well. I think just because I can respect this book, but it just wasn't for me. It just wasn't my kind of book. And that's why I ended up rating it 3 stars. I would have rated it 2 stars or 1 star, because that's how it made me feel. But I can respect it for, like, the classic it is. I understand why it's a classic. I get it. Please don't come for me because I mentioned this on my TikTok. And, like, I know there's a massive fan club for Sylvia Plath, so please don't hate me, come with love. I know there's Sylvia Plath lovers out there, just, it's okay.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
And then my next read was really disappointing because I have been wanting to read this author for a while now. She's been on my TBR for ages, and when this book came out, I thought, oh, that's like right up my alley. A Problematic Summer Romance by Hazelwood was a problematic read. This follows Maya. She's 23, she's a grad student, and she's came to Sicily for her older brother's wedding. Now, her parents died when she was 12, so her brother practically raised her, so she's incredibly close with him and with his best friend, Connor, who's 38. And there's a dual timeline going on between something that happened between them 3 years ago and the wedding. And it's all about the lead up to the wedding and the kind of forced proximity between Maya and Connor. Now, this is like an age gap romance, also like a billionaire romance because Connor is the CEO of a incredibly well done company, and also he's from a lineage of very wealthy people. I loved the sound of this when I picked it up. I thought it would be the perfect summer read, and I thought it would be perfect to dip my toe into Hazelwood because I thought this isn't too like STEM for me, because I don't really like the idea of reading about STEM. I don't know, maybe, but I thought this was like a good kind of palate cleanser after The Bell Jar, and it was a no for me. The setting was incredible. I did like that. And the plot was good between the dual timelines. I liked that. I think it was just the characters that, oh, they're really quite insufferable. I don't mind an age gap romance. I don't mind that at all. But see, when the age gap has gone on about so much and the age gap becomes like a character within itself, it's just like, oh my gosh. He talks the whole book about how young Maya is and how she's such a child and she's so immature. And she constantly talks about how old he is and how decrepit he is. Like, they go on about it a lot. I know some of it's joking, but it's brought up a lot. So see, when they do, spoiler, they get together. When they do get together, it's like, it feels weird. It feels weird because now he's suddenly like, no, you're so mature. Like, you're the most mature 23-year-old I know. I just don't want to be too old for you. And I'm like, where is this coming from, bro? Where is this coming? Because you have spent like 300 pages talking about how childish and immature she is and how you'd never go there with her. And so it just kind of fell flat for me. It was quite spicy, and I don't mind a spicy book, but it just made me uncomfortable. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It wasn't for me. So I feel like I was liking this at the start. I really liked the Italy summer kind of vibe. And then I was just reading it and I was like, oh, I want this to finish. Yeah, so it was disappointing. I'd say it was a three-star read. I'd love to know if you have read any of Ali Hazelwood's books, how this rated for you on par with her other books, because there's so much hype around her books and I feel like I'm just not getting it. So maybe I'll try another Ali Hazelwood sometime soon. But do not fret, because we are finishing on a high. I finally started a series I've been wanting to start for ages, and it has grossly exceeded my expectations. The Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silvers. Thank you, Elsie Silvers, because I'm officially in my cowboy romance era and I'm so here for it. Rhett Eaton is our bad boy bull rider who needs to get his reputation on track. In comes his boss's daughter, Summer Hamilton, who's going to stay with him at the Wishing Well Ranch to get his reputation back on track and make sure he doesn't get into trouble. Summer just wants to make her dad proud. She's a people pleaser and she just wants this gig to go well to prove herself to him. And Rhett is just trying to get through this season without another scandal so he can keep the family ranch. But there is one problem. Summer's dad, his boss, has made it very clear not to lay a finger on her. But that proves very difficult for Rhett. And just never have I read a book that is so worth the hype it's given. I devoured this in 2 days. 2 days. And a busy 2 days as well. I just love it when a romance author gets enemies to lovers done right. And realistically, this slow burn was so good and the characters were addicting. I love the found family trope and it was so well done with the family and the kind of small town coziness of it all. I started this on audiobook and I got 50% of the way through and was like, I need to get the whole entire series, which I did, which I'm slowly getting through now. And I'm loving the Chestnut Springs series. So mad I haven't read it before, but this was so needed after those 2 3-star reads. And obviously this was a 5-star. But yeah, so this was my reading wrap up for July. We had some good reads, we had some bad reads, but this has been my July reading wrap up. Thank you so much for watching. I can't say this was a bad month of reading because I did find my new favorite series and I'm so now in my cowboy romance era. I would like to know if you have read any Ali Hazelwood's books, any that you'd recommend to me. Also, any cowboy romances. I'm in need of another series to dive into after the Chestnut Springs series because I'm already into book 3, so I'm racing ahead with these. But anyway, thank you so much for watching and I'd love to see you next time I come out with a reading video. Bye bye!